Welcome to the Overflow Podcast, the podcast for serious-minded young adults seeking to deepen their faith and make a meaningful impact in their communities, workplaces, and local churches. Join us as we explore how faith meets action.
Welcome to the Overflow Podcast. Very special episode today.
Super special.
Very. Because we are going to get to know Joseph a little bit more. We're gonna dig in, find out what makes him tick. It's gonna be scary.
Yep.
Because
for me mostly.
There's not much going on up in that brain. And then at the end, I think we'll find out a little bit about his favorite verse, maybe not your favorite verse, but a verse that has been very impactful to you, John 3. So I'm excited for that. But we'll kind of jump in soon to see, where are you from? What's your family? The classic stuff.
What you have to say in class when you get there on the first day.
Yeah. Hey, my name's Jeff, and my favorite ice cream's... What is my favorite ice cream?
Vanilla.
No, it's actually, my favorite ice cream is actually...
Jeff, this is
something
about
with
you.
peanut butter.
You're right. That's my bad. It's definitely not about me. That would be can I say that in the episode that we get to know me?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I'll write it down for you.
Thank you. Can you remind me to say chocolate with peanut butter layers? See how I just weaseled in what I actually like?
You sly dog.
It's good. Anyway, this is about Joe. This is not about me.
All right,
and I recognize
Jeffrey, calm down.
this. Okay.
All right.
Joseph,
All right,
Yes.
Joseph.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe where you're from.
Okay, we'll start off there.
And then after you finish that one, I'm going to hit you with two. Hopefully you can remember. Where are you from?
That's a lot of pressure.
What do you do for work? Maybe what you studied in college, then how did that bleed into now?
Yeah,
What do you do for
so
work?
I grew up in Alaska.
Ooh.
Born and raised there until I was like 18. Basically, right after I got back from my freshman year of college, we moved down to Washington State. So I was raised in Alaska, a small town called Wasilla, which is about an hour north of Anchorage. Most people know where Anchorage is, or I've heard of that. So that's what I usually use as a metric. And I studied mechanical engineering at Laterno University in Longview, Texas. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty fantastic.
I went
So
from Alaska to Texas.
Two extremes, one to the other.
Which what's the big difference between the states that you've lived in? So Alaska, Washington, and now Connecticut. Well, I guess Texas you kind of lived in.
Yeah, 4 years.
Which one has been the, I guess, best for you? Maybe climate-wise or otherwise?
I think they all had their pros and they all had their cons. I really enjoyed growing up in Alaska. It was very quiet, very beautiful to grow up there. So I really did enjoy growing up in Alaska. Probably a con of growing up in Alaska was just it was hard to see extended family. So every time we would see extended family was on vacation, pretty much, and that was usually what our vacations was to go see family.
Gotcha. Were there other people in Alaska?
Barely.
That's unfortunate.
No, actually, where we lived is pretty similar to here in Groton.
Okay.
Where there was a bunch of littler towns, about 20,000, all kind of next to each other. So, yeah. It was
Gotcha.
like 20 minutes from the grocery store.
So you would go see extended family. So what's the family dynamic? What is...
Family dynamic is a little strange. So we like to call ourselves the second family, me, my older brother, and my younger sister, because my parents had 4 older sisters than us. So my oldest sister is, I always get this wrong, but she's 20 years or more older than I am, or maybe a little bit less. I can't remember. But I do know that my the youngest of the 4 older sisters, Diana, is 9 years older than Tom. And so that's what I tell everyone, and that's the gap. But yeah, so we kind of grew up as almost having 5 moms, which was fun and also not so fun sometimes. But it was great. Yeah.
5 moms. That's gotta be tough. Which was there one sister
Oh,
that
man,
was.
you're gonna do that right now?
Oh man, should I
Calling
not?
him right
Should I
out.
not do that? Could that cause strife in the family?
Probably all of my sisters will at one time or another listen to this, so I don't know if you should.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We won't ask that question. Let's move on to a happier question. Is there like a
Happy question.
happier question? Where we're not pitting family against family. That was unintentional. Was there a memory from childhood, maybe not from childhood that?
Yeah. This is kind of a general memory. So we grew up playing baseball, and my dad really loved baseball. But we're in Alaska. We don't have any major league teams up there. So there was some local minor league, if you want to call it minor league. So we'd see those every once in a while. But my dad, being a pilot, would take us down to Seattle every once in a while. And we get to just fly down for like a weekend with him and go see a Mariners game. So one of those times we went to a DoubleTree, which is cool because they give you a cookie when you get there. And not a lot of, I haven't been to any ones other than DoubleTree that does that. So, and it's usually warm, right off the oven, and it has like nuts, and it's huge, and it's great. But when we got there, there was a lot. It was my whole family this time, and they essentially just told me to open my backpack, and they just shoveled all these cookies in there. So
The best.
a great memory. And then we went and watched baseball. And that's my favorite sport.
So for those that may not know what DoubleTree is, namely me, actually, what is DoubleTree?
DoubleTree is like a Hilton, but it's like so DoubleTree was before Hilton, if I remember correctly, and then Hilton bought DoubleTree, and so now it's like the DoubleTree Hilton.
But they give cookies.
Yeah, and typically they're two really tall towers next to each other, which is why it's called DoubleTree because they're
That's interesting.
Like tree trunks.
Yep.
Wow, how about that? So were you like super sporty growing up? Do you have like hobbies or fun stuff that you still do or used to do?
So a lot of people would think that we were big like skiers, big outdoor like on snow machines,
The sled
stuff
dogs.
like that, sled dogs. We really weren't. We grew up playing baseball. Me and my brothers, my sisters grew up playing basketball. So much more into the sports aspect. I didn't grow up playing really anything that most people in Alaska, like hockey or basketball. Those were two big sports in Alaska because they're indoor technically. And so a lot of people like doing those. But I grew up playing baseball, and I got to do that in college for a little bit. So yeah, I enjoyed that.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, let's move into some fun things.
Oh, that wasn't fun.
I guess not. She was not
we're
enjoying
moving
that.
on to
she was bored.
the more interesting stuff.
Oh, okay.
Where Jeff doesn't talk.
Oh, fair enough.
If you won the lottery, Joseph, what would you do? Is there like a specific thing you want to buy?
I feel like it has to be fun. It can't be anything serious.
So I'm torn. I do like Teslas. I think they're cool. My dad has a Tesla, and I enjoy going back and just punching the accelerator because it's really not like anything I've ever felt before, even more than like roller coasters. It's quick. But so I'm torn between a Tesla or a Camaro just because I like how Camaros look. So that would probably be what I'd do for fun.
Are you a morning person, or do you like to stay up at night? Kind of both?
Probably a night owl.
Really?
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah.
It's just more fun at night.
It is typically. Yeah.
When you're
Stay up late, watch movies.
When you're staying up late watching movies, do you listen to any music? Does you go to?
I have a couple artists that I enjoy listening to. We've been, me and Izzy, my wife. Yes, I am married. Sorry.
Sorry, ladies. He's taken.
Okay. Well, that's not what I meant, but it is true. We've been listening to a lot of Forrest Frank recently, which is kind of cool. He's kind of he has a lot of Christian themes in his songs, not necessarily just like worship music, so to speak, but we listen to that a lot. Country, because we were in Texas for a while, that kind of bled through a lot of our music. Is we like listening to some country. So Walker Hayes, we actually went and watched one of his concerts last year. That was really cool. So yeah,
Pretty good choices.
no thanks.
Yeah. Keep that in mind for my Spotify list.
Oh yeah. Oh, and Jack Johnson. I grew up listening to Jack Johnson. It's just like the slower paced music usually.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question.
I just pointed it out to her.
You just pointed it out to me.
Yeah, I wanted to ask this question to you.
It's a would you rather. So would you rather have Pickles for toes or Cheetos for fingers?
I think you'd have to go pickles for toes.
Oh my goodness, why?
Well, for one reason only, and it's that if you had Cheetos for fingers, you would only ever be touching things with Cheetos and always getting Cheeto dust everywhere, and I just hate that.
Fair enough.
That annoys me a lot.
That's a good answer.
And I think I could
Accept
just put sock over my toes and deal with it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I feel that.
Well, switching gears a little bit here, Joe.
Switch gears.
You put on your serious thinking cap. That nice overflow hat will
Oh, yeah.
do. Yeah, look at that merch.
Yep.
Take a peek if you're listening to this audio only. Sorry, you can't see it, but it
well.
looks super sweet. Tell us a little bit about your faith story, your faith journey.
Yeah, so grew up in the church. My parents both saved. Actually, both of them were not Christians growing up, which I don't know if I've actually ever told you guys that.
I didn't know
But my
that.
dad was grew up Catholic, and then my mom, that her parents didn't go to church at all, and they both got saved in Jacksonville, Florida, while my dad was going through Navy flight school.
Oh.
So that's that's at least the beginning part. And then when they moved up to Alaska, had all of us, we started going to church they were going to church before I was born, but as a family. So I did grow up in the church, but it's not necessarily a strong like heritage within our family necessarily, as far as just like Christianity goes. But then from there, I would say that I really took my faith seriously, probably more around middle school into early high school. Around that age is when I started taking it more seriously. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump forward because I'm super excited about the verse that you were telling us about beforehand, and I really like it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can just take that and run with it.
All right.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, so the verse that I chose, and we basically, what are some impactful or your favorite verse that you'd like to share and just talk through a little bit, is John 3:17 through 18. And I know everyone knows John 3:16, and that's almost kind of why I like John 3:17. And it is partly from my mom. She would stress this to us. She's like, don't forget John 17 and 18 when you think about John 3:16. And so everyone knows John 3:16, but John 3:17 says, for God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only Son of God. And I think that is impactful for me, and just growing up is like, we think sometimes of God being on his high throne and just thinking down and thinking of us humans as just so pitiful, so unworthy, and that he's just condemning us to hell without his help. And really, like, that's true, but that's not why God sent Jesus. The only reason he sent Jesus was because of his love for us. And that was the reason Jesus came. And so I think this is a really easy thing to work into conversation, especially when you're evangelizing and people think of Christians as being judgmental or condemning, and are like, well, you shouldn't be, because here in John 3:17, like it says, God did not come to condemn us. He came to save us. So yeah.
That's really good. And it's like the law already
It already
condemns us. Like none of us have kept the 10 Commandments, and that's not even
Right.
What do they say? Like in the Old Testament, there's like over like 600 or something like that.
Something like that. It's a large
laws.
number.
It's a lot.
Oh.
Obviously, we're not under the law, but
Yeah.
and Christ came to fulfill the law. And I mean, Romans 8:1 right there, there's no condemnation to those that are in Christ Jesus.
Right.
And I was just really excited about this verse that you chose, just because it's, as a Christian, the love of God, the grace of God is so cool to think about. It's so undeserved. And I don't know, there's just something about the fact that he came and he died for those that would have been considered his enemies. And I think you had mentioned something before. I forget the verse.
Are you talking about John 15?
Is it John 15?
Yeah, like the only reason Jesus came was to die for us, right? And to show and to save us. And John 3:15 says, no greater love have I than to lay down his life for his friends.
Right.
And that's exactly what he's doing for us on the cross, right?
Right.
And so there's obviously it's not condemnation if there's no greater love than to lay down your life. And that's what he was doing. So,
yeah. And the thing is, he also laid down his life for non-friends.
Right.
But to bring them, to give an opportunity for us to have friendship, relationship, sonship with daughtership. Sorry, Aaron. You get the picture. With him, which I think is super impactful. And how could this practically affect our lives?
Yeah. I think I talked to it a little bit before, but I think like when we're evangelizing, when we're talking through our faith with someone, it's easy for Christianity. And we talked about this couple in one of our Bible studies recently, like, it's easy for people to look at Christianity as a set of rules or a set of things to do. And it's not. It's our acceptance of love from Christ because he came to save us, and he's not condemning us with setting up all these rules for us.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Well, that was a really good passage. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Overflow New England, you can find us on Instagram. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time. All right. Take care.